Welcome to a presentation on age discrimination within the United States. I'm Shannon Restifo and shall be taking a short amount of your time to go over some information about the Age Discrimination Employment Act of 1967. Congressional Acts of Protection. How did this come about? In 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed. This law is a major federal law that prohibits discrimination in employment. It is within Title VII of this law that states discrimination is prohibited based on race, sex, color, religion, national origin, and retaliation. The previous year, the Equal Pay Act of 1963 was passed. This protects men and women who perform substantially equal work from sex-based wage discrimination. It further was seen that a new discrimination law due to age was needed, and the Age Discrimination in Employment Act of 1967 was passed. This law protects employers or employees and job applicants who are 40 years of age or older from employment discrimination based on age. When one thinks of someone being affected by discrimination, age is certainly not at the top of that list. Rather, it is more along the lines of race or possibly national origin. Before I go further into this presentation, let us begin by a brief glimpse of what the federal law states of the ADA. Prior to this law going into effect, the congressional members issued a statement of findings and purpose. I hereby find and declare that in the face of rising productivity and affluence, older workers find themselves disadvantaged in their efforts to retain employment, and especially to regain employment when displaced from jobs. And setting of arbitrary age limit practices may work to the disadvantage of older persons. The incidence of unemployment is high among older workers. Their numbers are great and growing, and their employment problems grave. And the existence in industries affecting commerce of arbitrary discrimination in employment because of age burdens commerce and the free flow of goods in commerce. Continuing on, Congress issued a purpose for this act, and it was to promote employment of older persons based on their ability rather than age, to prohibit arbitrary age discrimination in employment, to help employers and workers find ways of meeting problems arising from the impact of age on employment. So, prohibition of age discrimination for the employer is to fail or refuse to hire or to discharge any individual or otherwise discriminate against any individual because of such individual's age. To limit, segregate, or classify his employees in any way which would deprive or tend to deprive any individual of employment opportunities or otherwise adversely affect his status as an employee because of such individual's age, or to reduce the wage rate of any employee. Now, for an employment agency, it is to fail or refuse to refer for employment or otherwise to discriminate against any individual because of such individual's age, or to classify or refer for employment any individual on the basis of such individual's age. For labor organizations or unions, to be exact, it is to exclude or to expel from its membership or otherwise to discriminate against any individual because of his age. To limit, segregate, or classify its membership, or to classify or fail or refuse to refer for employment any individual in any way which would deprive or tend to deprive any individual of employment opportunities, or would limit such employment opportunities or otherwise adversely affect his status as an employee or as an applicant for employment because of such individual's age. To cause or attempt to cause an employer to discriminate against an individual in violation of this section. So those are what this group are to prohibit for age discrimination. This act now protects those who are 40 years of age or older, and, as we just learned, applies to both employees and job applicants. On this slide, there are two sides that we can compare and look and see what the good of this act is for individuals aged 40 and over. We know that it prohibits employment discrimination, and then it prohibits having an individual take mandatory retirement due to their age and limit an employee status being based on age. But it is covered with employers with 20 or more employees, unions with 25 or more members, and employment agency and apprenticeship programs. Age discrimination facts. According to the article, 10 things you should know about age discrimination, they state 2 out of 3 workers between the ages 45 and 74 say they have seen or experienced age discrimination at work. Job seekers over age 35 cite it as a top obstacle to getting hired. This article also gave some good facts that I feel are important to know, and they are: age discrimination is illegal at any stage of employment, including during hiring, promotions, raises, and layoffs. It also prohibits workplace harassment by coworkers, supervisors, or clients because of age. It is currently legal for employers and prospective employers to ask your age as well as your graduation date. One can try to deflect the question in an interview, but there's nothing stopping a prospective employer from asking. 2009 U.S. Supreme Court ruling made it harder for older workers who've experienced proven age discrimination to prevail in court. Basically, what this means is that the plaintiffs must meet a higher burden of proof for age discrimination than for other types of discrimination. In other words, the Supreme Court moved the law backward and sent a message to employers that some amount of proven discrimination is legally allowed. And most people believe that age discrimination begins when workers hit their 50s. To continue with those facts, there's also a gender difference in the perception of age discrimination. According to a survey done by AARP, 72% of women between the ages of 45 and 74 said they think people face age discrimination at work. Only 57% of men in the same age range said so. Among older workers surveyed, stated that not getting hired is the most common type of age discrimination they experience. Now, if you think you've been discriminated against, you can file a charge with the Federal Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC. This is how one can take action. Also, working with an attorney to file a lawsuit. But before taking either of these steps, consider going through your company's grievance system if one is available. To help improving your case, be sure to keep a careful record of all the alleged discrimination. And there is an average of over 20,000 charges of age discrimination filed each year with the EEOC. Contrary to stereotypes, workers age 50 and up are among the most engaged members of the workforce. Important ADEA principles include employment notices and advertisements. What this means is that employment notices or advertisements to include age preferences, limitations, or specifications. An example is language should not suggest between age 25 to 35 or recent college graduates. Yet can express a preference for older adults with terms that say over age 50 or retirees. Another, qualified occupational qualifications. Under the ADEA, it is unlawful for an agency to discriminate on the basis of age unless the agency can establish that the age limitation is a bona fide occupational qualification necessary to the performance of the duties of the position. Retirement. An agency does not violate the statute if an employment action based on an employee's eligibility for a particular retirement plan. Harassment prohibits harassing a person because he or she is age 40 or older. This can include offensive remarks about a person's age. The law does not prohibit simple teasing, offhand comments, or isolated incidents that are not serious. Harassment is illegal when it is so frequent or severe that it creates a hostile or offensive work environment, or when it results in an adverse employment decision, such as the victim being fired or demoted. And last but not least, retaliation against an individual for opposing an employment practice that is discriminatory under the ADEA or participating in an employment discrimination proceeding, including filing a charge of employment discrimination, cooperating with an internal investigation of alleged discriminatory practices, or serving as a witness in an EO, in other words, Equal Employment Opportunity investigation or litigation. Transparency for employers to avoid age discrimination. In order to avoid having a discrimination filed against your organization, here are a few things that can be done to steer clear. When advertising for the job, make it known that you're an equal employment opportunity employer. In the interview, know what you can ask and what you shouldn't, such as don't ask about age, date of birth, marital or family status, sexual orientation, national origin, citizenship, race, color, or religion. Present the interviewee with the functions of the job and assess their ability to do it. Do run a background check. A lot of employers don't do it. It's wise to back up what you're told in the interview. Say you're hiring drivers. You want to make sure they have a license and don't have DUIs or hit and runs on their record. But you would need to check with your local authority having jurisdiction, as each city and state may have different ordinances when it comes to background checks. Here in California, one can't run a background check until after the offer of employment has been made. Have very clear job descriptions. Make them as detailed as possible with a clear, concise list of job duties and expectations. Train managers on fair hiring practices, the do's and don'ts of fair hiring practices. It has been over 50 years. There are many age discrimination claims being filed every year, as noted from an earlier slide. Following tips are helpful for an organization to prevent age discrimination. Strive to maintain a diverse workforce. Put some checks and balances in place where needed to ensure new employees are being selected for the right reasons. Avoid issues with your job descriptions, such as avoid determining what type of person would fit the role altogether, and instead describe the role itself in vivid detail. Design your job application process with care. Don't ask for unnecessary information. Steer clear of stereotypes. Implicit bias training, along with discrimination and harassment training, can be incredibly helpful in preventing this type of inappropriate behavior. Understand the rules of retirement. Asking questions around when an employee plans to retire is off limits. Watch your words. Avoid calling your employee old. Even avoid making disparaging comments about yourself like, back in the day, or my old brain, or I'm old-fashioned, can be problematic. Age discrimination in high tech. Both Google and Hewlett-Packard were sued for age discrimination within their organization. Google is being sued by two people, both over 40, who had been turned down after applying for jobs. Hewlett-Packard has a lawsuit pending that alleges widespread age discrimination that costs that employee their job. This workforce reduction plan led to HP laying off over 2,000 employees, with 85% over the age of 40. These individuals and many others who feel they have been discriminated file a claim with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. The EEOC receives the complaints and follows through with extensive investigations. As to Google and HP cases, both are pending with the court on decisions. Just a bit of food for thought. The country just completed the national election for president. Within this position, the President of the United States is usually held by a person of the average age of 55. We can be sure there is no age discrimination when a candidate decides to run for that office, as the youngest elected president to take office was 43 years of age. In conclusion, this brief overview of the ADEA shows that individuals over 40 are protected by federal laws, and if one feels discriminated or harassed in the workplace, they can file a complaint with the EEOC. Again, thank you for taking the time to view this presentation. And following slides are the references used to create this presentation. Have a great day.